Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Joy Sharma, who is the founder and CEO at EasyWorks, which offers a bunch of business services such as graphic design, market research, video production, analytics, and so on. And the specialty of them is they leverage AI and technology in everything they do. Hi, Joy. Welcome to ELI.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Would request you, Joy, to brief a bit about yourself, uh, a little bit about your background. How did you land up into entrepreneurship? Can you tell that story?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I've realized about myself is that I like to build things. This started off when I started my engineering in Netaji Subhas Institute of Technology back in 2000. I graduated 2004. Then I was working as a semiconductor hardware engineer with STMicroelectronics. Did
Mm-hmm.
that for about 2 years, but always had the itch to do something of my own. So I actually started my first venture in 2006,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I mean, at that time, entrepreneurship wasn't even like a cool buzzword. It was just called doing your own business. So I set up a factory where I was manufacturing automotive parts.
Wow.
And this was 2006. uh, in 2010, I sold that. Then, in this process, I think I realized that understanding strategy and is an important part of running a business, and that's why I applied for MBA to various schools in the US, and then I went and did my MBA from the University of Michigan, Ross School of Business, from 2010 to 2012.
Okay.
Um, I think that started my journey of really understanding how the world works. I kind of had the piece around building stuff, the engineering part. Then for business, at the business school, I learned a lot in theory, but I was still curious. Therefore, I joined McKinsey in their US office
Mm-hmm.
and worked on various departments, functions, and really trying to understand how business functions. Then in 2015, I moved within McKinsey to their Dubai office. At that point, I was actually contemplating moving back to India and starting my next venture.
Okay.
But I felt like there was an opportunity to learn about how governments function. And the Dubai office of McKinsey was doing a lot of work with various government entities in the region.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I basically moved to Dubai and spent 2 years here in Dubai working on working with various ministries on national program design, execution, implementation of such programs. And then I think by that time I felt like I had explored the world quite a bit. And then 2017 I moved back to India with the idea to start my own venture again. And 2018 I launched Easy. So that was kind of the journey.
Got it. And from manufacturing to government, now you have built a services business that too around marketing, graphic design, which is very different. Uh, what are the commonalities? Why do you decide to do what you do?
Yeah. So I think over the last, you know, 15, 20 years, what I have learned is that, and all of these have actually come together quite nicely in what we are doing now, is that delivery of services is something that requires a lot of work, a lot of intricate design of systems and processes. Honestly, even more so than in a factory,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there's a lot more dependency on human beings and quality is subjective. Uh, so when I was working with government, in some sense, if you think about it, also the government is delivering services to the citizens, right? So the mindset of this of delivery has kind of been a common theme across everything that I've done. As a consultant, we were always delivering projects, right? So so I think that's one thing that I've understood quite well and mastered, I would say. And that I think is also the core of what we are building at Easy.
Mhm.
If you want, I can get into it a little bit right now, or
Yeah, I mean, I was reading these terms such as services factory of the world, or somewhere I read services as a software. I mean, software as a service I have heard, but tell us about, I mean, what are the differentiators, cool stuff that you have been doing which others have not? I mean, what differentiates your company versus everybody else who is doing the same thing?
yeah. So see, when I started off, one of the pain points we discovered in the Middle East was language translation, right? So we started off a little bit in language translation, and then slowly we said, okay, here are some adjacent things that need to be done. So while we were doing language translation, we had to also design presentations because a lot of the documents we were translating were presentations. So we started presentation design as a service. From there, people started asking us for, can you do more advanced graphics? So we started doing that. Then they said, now that you're doing graphics, can you also animate this stuff? Oh, by the way, in the presentation, why don't you go and look for information from five different sources and put it in the presentation? So there the research side kind of started, right? Then from graphics, we went to UI. From UI, they said, oh, can you also build the app? So this is how kind of the business expanded, right? While we were responding to market demand, at the back end, what was happening is that the vision for the company was actually getting crystallized.
Yeah.
And we have something we call the delivery methodology, right? The delivery methodology basically has two parts. One part is the delivery mindset, right? Which is something that we work very intensely on with our team on. Just how to have kind of this mindset that deliveries can't fail. Um, and it requires there are seven pillars within it. There's adaptability, there's prioritization, there's ownership and things like that. On the other hand, there is the tech backbone, right? Of which is basically, I think of it as an assembly line, right? And I
Mm.
think this is where my uh, having built a factory and then being in services, those two things have come together. So
Mhm.
let me tell you the analogy, right? So essentially, back in 1905, if you know of the story of Ford Motor Company, right? The innovation that Henry Ford basically made was the assembly line, where because before that, what used to happen is that the car would be in one place and people would come work on the car and then go away, right? The assembly line, essentially, what he said that that an individual worker who is very skilled on a specific thing stays in one place. The car comes to him, he does his job, it moves forward. Now, if you think about services delivery, right, at the core of it is something that our COO Varun and another person Shubham, who were one of the first few people that joined us, they came up with, and it's called the BAT framework, right?
Mhm.
Um, uh, the Well, it's bat as in, the flying bat, not the cricket bat, because it looks like that when you draw it out. But essentially, if I crystallize it, uh, what they're basically saying is to deliver any service, a set of skills need to be applied in a certain sequence
Mhm.
with very high accuracy to get the output, right? Now, if you try to visualize this looks like an assembly line that let's say I have a graphic designer who is good at doing whiteboard
Right.
graphics. So all that needs to happen is this person knows precisely what he or she is supposed to do. the assignment comes to them. They do the work, it moves on, and there are strong ways of doing quality control, and there are strong feedback mechanisms, right, that are built into the place so that this person is also enhancing their skill continuously. So that's what I mean by the services factory of the world. And that's what we've basically built, right? So in the last 7, 8 years across different services, so now we're offering, like, the first one that we started with, I told you, was translation. Now we have 70 plus service offerings that we're providing to 200 plus client organizations around the world,
Okay.
right? And that is, and our USP is basically consistently high quality, which we've managed to do with this delivery mindset.
Mhm.
Um, Faster than the fastest. We'll come to that when we start talking about AI. And then the third is that we are available around the clock, right? And this is by virtue of having people in various countries working with us. So this services factory of the future is actually, I believe, a way to scale B2B businesses like it has never been done before, right?
Mm.
Because we've tried to reduce the dependency on human beings, or I wouldn't even say that, right? It's not that we've reduced the dependency on human beings, but we've put them in a framework that allows them to deliver consistently high quality. And there are buffers and checks and balances within the system to make it happen. I mean, we're already measuring our success in decimal points of negative feedback, right? So
Mhm.
we were at less than 0.4% last year across, if I remember correctly, some 40, 50,000 assignments that we delivered
Wow.
for various clients, right? So I think, and this is how it happened uh, uh, with the manufacturing of automotive, where they went from kind of counting not just percentages, but eventually down to parts per million failure, right? So so that's the hope of, and that's what we're trying to achieve, and that I think is something unique and something all of our clients value quite a bit.
Understood. And thanks for setting the context. I think whatever we just discussed will act as a context for the next discussion, which is around AI. And
Yeah,
I have couple of questions around the different aspects of AI. And you being a founder, I think you are well positioned to answer them. The first question that comes to my mind is so AI is kind of disrupting all industries. If you look at Indian service businesses like TCS, Infosys, Wipros of the world, their stocks have been down because of AI. They're all stopped hiring, they're laying off, and so on, because clearly AI is taking away jobs, and services jobs are the ones that are easy to take away because AI is pretty good at doing all those things. How are
yeah,
you as a company positioned to not just tackle that, but I think you are thriving on AI. Can you explain that to
that's
us?
correct. So that's a very interesting question. So from the beginning, every service that we've gotten into, it has been a criteria for us. So we based our selection on three things. The first is that it should be possible to deliver the service remotely, right? Um, which enables us to have people sitting in any part of the world working on a specific assignment. The second thing is that the service should be spiky in demand, in that it's not something that you need every day, right? Because if you need something every day, then you would have an in-house team,
Hmm.
right? And the third one is basically the services should get disrupted by AI, right? And we took this bold step because we believed that the world is going to change with the advent of AI. And this is, I'm talking about 2018, right? So this is pre the buzz around AI. And rather than so that creates an opportunity, right?
Okay.
Essentially, because the old ways of working need to change. And we started working in the new way even before kind of the rest of the world woke up to the fact of AI, right? And I think that's been the edge, right? And since 2020, we've been investing quite a lot in terms of AI. So while the business is profitable, we do invest a lot of the profits back into this kind of research, right? And I think the right way to think about AI is to think of it as an assistive tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about kind of the big IT companies in India. Well, the model is going to change, right? And this is a fact. And I'm sure they're also like all trying to figure out what is the next paradigm, right? That'll work for them. Um, my opinion is that over time, what has happened is that a lot of the work has become so siloed, right? Like sometimes when I used to interview people for my engineering team, I would find it quite frustrating because they would be like, I am a back-end developer who can work in PHP only and on Laravel framework version whatever whatever, and then with a lot of pride they would say, but if there is a new version, then I can adapt and I can work on the new version, which I thought was quite like you can't make yourself so siloed and assume that things will continue to be the way that they are.
Mm.
I think this has been a bit of a challenge. And so when we hire our teams, we're always looking for generalists, right? Like we're looking for people who can work across technologies. And if they need to pick something up, it takes 15 days to kind of learn a new language. You'll not be an expert, but you can at least work in it, and then along the way you learn, right? So I think this has been one of the challenges. Now, if something is that specific, it's very easy to train AI to do that task,
Mhm.
right? But I think where so there are two aspects where AI I think fails, right? As of date, maybe it'll evolve, but where it fails as of now is one, the trust levels are not very high. So you always need someone to check the output of AI to make sure that it is in line with the
Yeah.
requirements. The second is, being able to understand a business problem and then saying what is the kind of solution that you can come up with. And there could be 100 types of solutions, right? But being able to evaluate that and say this is the best one, etc. I think that's something definitely that AI, I think it's learning. I don't know when it'll get there. I mean, if you listen to the big tech from California, they believe that by next year almost all engineering jobs will be eliminated.
Yes.
This is Eric Schmidt talking. I mean, yesterday I was listening to some podcast or something. So he's saying that by next year, all engineering jobs will be taken on by AI, and I don't think the world transitions that quickly. The only advice I would have for people listening into the podcast is the following, right? We always overestimate the impact of this stuff in the short term. So it's not like something's going to happen tomorrow.
Mm.
Uh, and we always underestimate its impact in the long term, right? So
Right.
in the long term, there will be a big shift, right? I was even having a conversation with a friend the other day, and we were talking about what is going to happen to all the engineering colleges that have mushroomed up in this country, right? Because they are
Mm.
still kind of teaching the old stuff and feeding into this factory of IT that we've established in this country. But is that really sustainable, right? So even I think those education institutions would have to rethink what it is that they're teaching and the skills that they're imparting.
Got it. Uh, you mentioned that you just spoke about coding and all those things. That just one vertical of business, and even I also believe, hearing commentary from different innovators, that by end of this year, all the coding jobs will be taken over by AI, because AI is going to be much smarter in coding than any human being available out there. So coding jobs are taken away. Then I think same thing is happening to graphic design. If you have seen the
That's correct.
kind of graphics coming out of chat GPTs of the world, I think they're at par with the graphic designers. Maybe there are some glitches now, but
Yeah.
with the next release, it will get fixed. So graphic design gone. I mean, so can you
So
go?
not gone, right? Like I think that's what we really need to focus on. It's not gone. So I'll give you examples from what we do, right? So
Yes.
we have developed AI for machine translation of Arabic language, right? Now, what that has done is that it has empowered the translators that are working with us to deliver 2x the output that they were delivering previously, right? Now, think about a translator. They get paid by the word,
Mm,
right? Which means that if they are spending 8 hours a day, there's just a certain volume of work that they can do. So people that are working with us are actually able to produce more volume of work
mm,
and therefore actually earn more, right?
okay.
I'm not saying that if they can produce 2x the work, they'll get paid 2x, but they'll get paid a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's an important thing to understand is that this translator is now preferred by clients more than someone who's not using AI,
Okay.
right? And that's the key, is to use the technology to your advantage. And we will all have to figure it out for ourselves, right? As individuals, as organizations, is that how do we leverage AI, be better, be more cost effective, and have better quality? Let's take the example of the graphics design team. So there, we haven't built our own, but we're leveraging all kinds of AI tools out there. And again, the thing is, you know, understanding the client brief, saying, okay, what is the client really looking for, and being able to deliver that with AI is a different skill than being a
Mm-hmm.
graphic designer. But that's something that we have. So we did a lot of workshops, we do a lot of hackathons internally to make sure that our people are able to deliver using AI. And I think
Got it.
that's the one mindset shift that everyone needs to have, is that rather than doing something yourself, how do you deliver something using AI? And that's the key. Our social media team is actually starting a campaign. We've again over the last 3 months we've been working very closely with each other to figure out how we're going to leverage AI in all of our digital marketing, right? So everything from content writing, creation of visuals, what kind of captions to write, how do you target the right people, SEO, all of these features.
Mm-hmm.
And they're starting a campaign, I think, next week or so, where they're actually publicly announcing that the team will now be using primarily AI in the design of all of their social media. And there are mixed commentaries around this. There are people who are for it, against it, and there's all kinds of stuff. So we said, we're just going to take a leap of faith and go ahead and do this, and we'll find out, right, what happens. So,
Mm.
the ability to take risk, be entrepreneurial in this day and age is extremely important. And, some things will work, some things will fail, but you'll definitely learn along the way and be able to be more powerful, right?
All right. Uh, Being a service provider, I think you would be on top of the trends. Can you can you tell us what are the new trends that you have been observing in terms of new services being requested from you by the clients, new business verticals that are growing faster than the others? What have
Yeah.
been, yeah.
So definitely a lot of demand for tech and AI, right? Which is kind of counterintuitive because on the one hand, we're saying that, tech jobs are going away. But at the same time, if you think from the point of view of businesses, they're all trying to figure out how do we integrate AI? How do we become better? How do we optimize our workflows, right? So one of the things I mean, if you think of it from an economic point of view, right, like macroeconomics point of view, what's happening is that the cost of delivering the same kind of output is reducing because of the advent of AI,
Yes.
right? Now, what that means from an economic standpoint is that if the cost is going down, then more people, then the demand will go up, right?
Not
So more and more people would actually want to do this kind of stuff where they will want to automate, digitize, integrate AI into their existing processes and systems. So there's actually an uptick in demand when it comes to technology and AI applications, right? So I wouldn't be too worried also as, an engineer or a company that is working in this space, because the demand is also shooting up while the
mm,
price points may be going down. So overall, there is a little bit of a stabilizing effect from that point of view also.
got it. Uh, Probably the last theme of this discussion, which is around, how to build service businesses of future. uh, there are some common challenges that I foresee. One is, how do you find people? I think you just mentioned about your frustrations of finding technical talents who are generalists, who should be able to pick up new technologies uh, quickly. How do you find these people? How do you uh, make sure that they stay in your company and grow with the as the company grows? How do you retain them? How do you create processes uh, which are uh, evolving as fast as the technology evolves? So AI is changing every year, so the processes also have to be new every year. And how do you make sure that happens? Can you give a beginner's guide to services business of the future?
Yeah. So, so first of all, if you're apprehensive towards working very hard, please don't do this. It's a lot of hard work, right? And the way I describe this a lot of times to people is that you have to think about a startup in three layers. The innermost layer is the product or service that you're building. The next concentric circle is then the business model that you're building around it. And the third one is then the organization, right? Now, for a B2B SaaS business, um, or a D2C business, the first and second one are significantly more important. But when it comes to building a services company, I think it's all about building the organization and the culture that will that's the only way to ensure that you will be able to do high quality delivery. It's the mindset that you're able to inculcate in the entire organization. It's the culture of, like, we talked about the delivery mindset. Now, this is not something that I have defined, right? I kept guiding the team on how to do stuff. And then it's actually the delivery team that crystallized this delivery framework into, these seven pillars. And the first few years are very tough. Um, it also takes time, by the way. The product you can figure out quickly, the business model you can figure out quickly, but building the organization is the thing that's a consistent process which you have to engage on every single day for a few years. Because till the time you don't get the right culture and the right organization, then uh, you have to work on it till that point. And I think beyond a certain point. So for us, what happened was when we crossed 100 people, I think at that point the culture and the mindsets, they became self-perpetuating. So instead of us having to go and always keep reminding people of our core value system, it started perpetuating. Because when there's a sufficient mass, let's say there's 100 people, if 20 people join, they mostly come in and they look at what's going on around and they adapt themselves to that way of working. So
Hmm.
there is kind of a critical mass, 100, 150. After that, I think it becomes interesting that your culture kind of self-perpetuates. Now, in terms of hiring talent, again, um, don't compromise, right? It's hard work. Sometimes we have a pipeline of 400 people for one position, and we'll probably talk to all of them on the phone at least. We might interview like 100, 150 people, and then we end up hiring for that one position. Um, and you we still only get it right 50% of the time, right?
Right.
Because one of the things that, at Easy that we've been trying to do is build a culture of service which is slightly different from the existing service mindset in India, right?
Mm.
Especially because we're serving client organizations across the world, we have to have a very high bar. And also because of me coming from McKinsey, there is a certain level of service that I want, right? And that's what our clients also appreciate because they also want that. And one of the challenges that we actually faced initially was that, when people come to our office, it's a very open culture. You do what you want. The only accountability is on the outcome, right? It's not on the input, how many hours you're putting it. It's not on the output, that how many, lines of code did you write. It's on the outcome, that were
Mm.
we able to achieve what we wanted to achieve. And that comes slowly. So for a lot of people, when they come in, they're like, oh, this is a very chilled out place. We don't need
Mm.
to do anything, right? Like they're just like sitting in the pantry having coffee and sitting in our lawn playing with our office dog or something, right? And then I think come the come the first quarter, that's when they realize, oh, this is the kind of expectations, right, that are there. And then at that point in time, two things happen, right? So people love a lot of this kind of freedom and culture that we have, but it comes with a lot of responsibility.
Right.
And some people get that and they love it, right? The kind of people, and then when they love it, then they stay for a very, very long time, right? Like I still have people who joined me in the first year, still working with us after 5, 6 years. Um, but then there are a lot of people who will go and talk to their friends and their, uncles and parents and be like, कि यहाँ पे तो ऐसे होता है. And then the advice that they get is coming from the context of the prevalent service
Mm.
culture that exists in the rest of the country. So it was very tough to create kind of this bubble where we are saying that, but that's something we didn't compromise on because it's in sync with our focus on delivery, right? And with services delivery, honestly, the only thing that matters is provide good service.
Mm.
Nobody wants to go through the hassle of changing their vendor, right? So if you just focus on delivery, and this is what we did, first, your customers are going to be happy. Second, they refer you. All of our growth has been organic like that, right? In terms of, someone will leave an organization, go to another place who's facing the same issues. They'll be like, oh, we can call that company. They'll solve all of these things for us, right? Whether you need language translation, interpreters, you need content writing, you need SEO, you need to get videos made, research, data analytics, apps, whatever it is, like they'll do it for us, right? So it's a one place that need to go to.
Mm.
So they take us with them to their next organizations, right? And that's how a lot of our growth has happened. And so, yeah, my advice is if you're building a B2B services business, focus on the delivery. It's the toughest part, but if you get that right, then you get longevity.
Got it. And what about processes? I think in service business, processes are at the center of the whole operation, and that's how these large companies like TCS, Infosys of the world, they have thrived over the years because they had very strong and scalable processes. But that is not applicable in modern times. Today, those
Yeah.
processes are obsolete. You cannot say that the SLA, the escalation timeline can be one day anymore. I think with AI, you can do it within 1 hour, even 1 minute, or even down to that. I mean, things are changing quite fast, and your process also need to change that fast. How do you make sure that happens? I just gave one example that can be with the pricing as well, because with AI, the pricing, let's say translation, for example, the pricing of translation earlier, let's say 10 rupee per word, it can be 1 rupee per word today and 10 paisa per word tomorrow. How do you keep changing that?
Yeah. So that's an interesting question. So two things about processes, right? First of all, process, you can define the first day, but you have to refine it, right? Until you learn what works. And that's an ongoing thing, even if I forget about AI for a second, right? So the process in any organization will evolve because there are so many things that change, right? Sometimes there are new types of roles that you define, which might have different working hours. There might be the scale of the organization grows so much, you might have to break out certain things into different departments. So processes are always evolving. Uh, Now, when we talk about AI, that the change of process is accelerated, right? And as I gave the example of our social media team, right, our digital marketing team, with them, like we did workshops and we redid the processes, right? We integrated AI into the workflows, and I think that's something honestly that every business right now should be doing. Is really looking at every function, because now we're not just talking about things that we're delivering to clients. Now we're talking about internal functions like branding, marketing. We're talking about people function. We're talking about the accounts team. So
Hmm.
even for these internal ones, we are now looking at how do we get this stuff going. So what we've done actually is we've created kind of this team under the COO, Varun, right? And that team's job is precisely this, right? To basically map out. So I almost think of them as the team that has all the blueprints, like they show in an architecture um, offices, right? Who have all of those blueprints, and then constantly saying, okay, what can we do? Where can we do? And then we do these hackathons where we incentivize the teams themselves to come up with ideas on how to make their work more efficient, right? Like this transcription tools, everyone is using them now, but I see you're also using it, right? But that's a tool that we started using several months back, when it had just kind of come out, because we did this hackathon and people were like, this is a pain point, right? Like when we have client meetings, we need to send minutes of meeting, etc. So they came up and found this, right? So that was a great idea. So one just needs to be innovative in also sourcing ideas from the team, because they're the ones living their day-to-day life. So as management, I think it's important to not do everything top down, but actually get ideas from them. And then the other is, at an organization level, you have to just kind of keep rethinking and redesigning processes and doing innovation. I mean, that's pretty much the only way.
Got it. And here is my final one before we close. Tell us about entrepreneurship. Like, what have you learned about entrepreneurship? What is this process? Who can become an entrepreneur, and what are the skill sets required for it?
That's a very sorry, that's a very broad question. Um, See, entrepreneurship in my mind is about resilience. It is about having the ability to keep showing up to work and keep chugging along when the going gets tough. Right.
Mhm.
I think those are really the testing times when, there is always, everyone is human. You will have self-doubts. You will have, am I good enough? Is the idea good enough? Is this going to get disrupted tomorrow? Who else is working on it? Right. And you have to kind of put all of that aside and say that I'm going to believe in this and I'm going to show up every day and I'm going to push this forward, um, and keep at it. I think the only thing I would say is just keep at it. Don't give up.
Mm.
Who can be an entrepreneur? I think some traits I would say is, uh, an entrepreneur. See, by the way, this is also another thing. So entrepreneurship, all entrepreneurs are different,
Mm.
right? Some are just great people persons, right? Where they can, really pull together a team, motivate them, and get them to create great output. Some are great problem solvers who will basically be like, give me the most complex thing, I will solve it, right? And then with them comes a team. They usually end up with a team which basically is very good at execution, because then they are able to solve everything and they say, this is what everyone needs to do, go do it, right? Um, there could be people who are just great marketeers, right? Who can just sell really, really well. So all different types of personalities and people can be entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is not something that gets done by oneself. You need to have other people that complement the skills that you have. right?
Mhm.
And that doesn't necessarily have to be co-founder. It can also be kind of the founding team where you have kind of your first people that you hire, or it could be a co-founder. So I think that's an important piece, is that it takes all of these things to do a business. It takes good problem solving, it takes effective communication, it takes good management knowledge, it takes good selling skills. Um, but no one individual will have all of this, right? So we always need to think in terms of what is the set of people that are going to make this happen. You need to be great with people. You need to be able to understand people, figure out how to motivate them, and yeah, so I think that's more important, I feel like, than some of this thing that you need to be very creative, risk taker, and all that. Of course, that's there, but I think the key is to know that no individual can do it. You have to have a bunch of other people supporting you. They could be co-founders, founding team, people you hire, but that's important.
Got it. I think the first point you made about resiliency, that reminded me of one of the companies where I used to work for, and the founder of that company, the company was actually going through a bad time, and the founder once came to office and said, everybody was sort of leaving the company, and the founder said, "Sabhi chale jao. Even if I'm alone in the company, I'll still run the company. I'll still run the show." I think that's the kind of resiliency needed for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
uh, on this note, we will close the session. Thanks, Joy, for coming here and sharing your few cents on different aspects of running a service business. And I think the service businesses are the ones which are getting disrupted very fast. And the future service businesses are like yours, which are thriving with AI, adopting AI first, and that's the way it should be. Thanks again for joining us. Pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, Priyaranjan. This is a great platform, by the way. I'm very happy that I could spend this hour with you. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thanks, Joy.